It's a bit difficult to introduce this panel after food and beverage conversations and talks about design and everything else. And there has been so much said about investing into hospitality real estate yesterday that it's going to be a bit of a tough act to follow, I'm afraid, but we're going to try. We're going to try. So I think the reason this panel came about is it's a bit of a wrap-up of all of the investment talks. And whether or not people realize, but hotels are real estate. They're buildings which have a very, very complex operation which is sitting on the top of them. That's why we love them, and that's why we hate them also. And I don't know one person that invests in hotels out of the desire to make a lot of money. Mainly it's work of labor. No, sorry, labor of love. That's what I meant to say. But anyway, let me welcome my panelists on the stage in any order that you guys would like. Naji, why don't you join me since you're sitting next to me? And Naji is in development for Diriyah Gate, which is the development that is definitely happening. And we all know it, and most of us have been there and enjoyed the scenery and the view. Samer, please join me also. Jabal Omar Development Company, making things happen in Mecca. And Terence from JLL, which also happens to be working in Diriyah Gate, but they have sneakily removed that so that you guys didn't feel like I have two people from Diriyah Gate. But he is, yes, a project manager. I don't know why they moved my chair, probably because my panelists asked, because they're scared of what I'm going to ask them. Welcome, everyone. I hope we're going to get some more people in the audience, and I hope you guys have questions about hospitality real estate, so that it wasn't only all of us talking. So let me kick off with some numbers. Numbers. I'm a consultant. I've got a lot of numbers, and Terence knows. So Saudi's hospitality sector plans to add 320,000 new hotel rooms by 2030. This is a fact, driven by Vision 2030 goals. 150 million visitors you all heard about, don't have to repeat that. By 2030 we want to have 10% of GDP contributed by tourism. Now we're sitting at about 7, if I remember my numbers from yesterday correctly. 2023 alone saw a 28 billion in tourism spending in the country. And that's a 132% increase from 22. So it's massive growth. With such massive growth and such speed of development, it's vital to balance hotel supply with demand across key cities. So my first question to you will relate to this. With over 400 hotels currently in the pipeline in the kingdom, do you foresee, demand is rising, but is demand rising sufficiently fast in order to be able to accommodate all of the supply that's coming in? Do you think this trend's aligned with demand-supply balance in key cities? Let's kick off with you, Naji.
Okay. So again, definitely it's a big challenge, building 400 hotels and making this happen in a relatively short period of time is a big challenge and can create, let's say, oversupply concerns or maybe delays or any of this type of problems. But in our case in Diriyah, I know that we are actually, and we are building, I think, a little bit more than 10% of that portfolio. So we have in Diriyah, between DG1, DG2, and Wadi Safar, around 40 hotels in the making.
You are what STR calls confirmed pipeline.
Yes. And I know for a fact that we are pacing our hotel openings. So it's not going to come in one shot. It's not going to come tomorrow or in 2030. But I know that we are working in a way that we're going to have openings happening in the next 5, 6, 7 years. And of course, with the priority, on a priority basis, because of all the events that are happening. Looking at it from a different angle, the amount of projects that are actually supporting our growth and our development of hotels is going to, in a way, ensure that this oversupply is not really a concern. It could be, There's always ups and downs in every development phase, in every renaissance, if we want to call it. But at the same time, I know that there's a lot of events that are happening and that will happen that the kingdom is working on to make sure that this oversupply is actually backed by over demand or the proper demand.
So you're trying at least to phase it to match with the growth of the supply, and you're trying to grow simultaneously with that. Okay, Samer, you are in a very different market. So please talk about how you guys are trying to navigate it to avoid potentially overbuilding. I mean, I know there are 50 million tourists slated for the holy cities by 2030. That's another one of the kind of goalposts for the vision.
I believe Mecca has its own dynamics. So the target is there to bring 30 million pilgrims between Hajj and pilgrims all over the year. And there's definitely a concentration on the hospitality sector. So it's different from the other cities because people in Mecca and people coming to Mecca, they want hotels and they want like a certain kind of also residencies or branded residencies for them to be able to do their pilgrims. Now, in terms of, I think we don't have an issue with the demand in Mecca because Mecca demand will be always there. People want to come. It's an issue of managing the demand with the supply itself. So managing the demand by having the right infrastructure, by having the right hotel keys, the number of hotel keys, by having also the right number of the right supply to the market. Now I need to add one thing that Naji was talking about also, that even if you have on the paper a certain number of hotels coming, but you know with all the challenges that in the real estate development sector and with the contractors, there's always delays in these hotels and in taking the right time. So there's always delays, there's a lower number of keys coming to the market. And this is put it in a way in terms of that the demand will be growing in a good manner in order to be over or going along with the supply itself. From our side, as Jabal Omar, I think we don't have a lot of supply coming on our master plan. We are relatively smaller than the other master plans that are in Mecca. But in Mecca, there's a big master plan that are there, and they'll bring a lot of supply. But we believe it will take time for them to realize, for all these developments to take place, for all these developments to be finished. And demand will be always there. So we don't have any issues, I believe, on the Mecca market.
It's for you, it's a bit different, right? How fast you can build for everybody who wants to come. That's amazing.
Definitely.
I would like to add something on the Dir'iyah is a mixed-use development city. So Dir'iyah is 14 square kilometers. It's as big as Geneva. So we need to put this into perspective.
That is really scary.
Yes, it is. It is scaring me at least. So Dir'iyah is a big development. And when we talk about hotels, we talk about rooms, we talk about F&B, we talk about MICE. There's different aspects for a hotel entity to function. So when we talk about demand and supply, we need to also look at the amount of people that will be living in that neighborhood and that will be growing along with the hospitality developments, retail, residential, office, and all this will contribute to probably some of the elements of a hotel component that will make it work. So it's not only about the rooms, it's about the F&B, it's about the MICE, it's about the spa, the other facilities, it's about the neighborhood, it's about the infrastructure, the community we are building that is going to also support this.
I think you have a very good point. I think it's not only about the tourists is what you want to say, right? Because by building a community, you're doing something that, remember when Sébastien Bazin took over Accor, he really dreamed of, and he had a vision of integrating hotel into the local communities, especially in the cities where they operate. Remember, he had a few crazy programs introduced, like we'll pick up your laundry for you and hold it at the reception, etc. I think half of that at least has failed, but it'll mature. I mean, the idea is excellent, right? Because the building, the 24-hour operational building is there. So that's amazing. Okay, Terence, over to you. What's your view on potentially balancing supply-demand dynamics in the kingdom?
That's a very interesting question and fascinating replies from my colleagues. I think it's important to Probably pick up on the point that when Dubai in 2021 was at the peak of its expo,
Hold your microphone.
Expo, they had 135,000 keys at 80% occupancy for 6 months. Currently, Riyadh, which is planning 2030 Expo, only has 22,000. So there's a big gap to catch up on. And all of us who live and work in Riyadh know the tight urban grain that's there and the constraints that even the streets will throw up to development. So I don't think there'll be an oversupply. I think the risk is more tuned towards undersupply, maybe not getting quite to where we need to get. And I think one of the things that has to be embraced, it's interesting hearing hotels move towards sustainability and green, but I think construction has to go that route as well. So I can see better infrastructure, better green prefabrication, better training, better investment. And I think that way you'll start to get the development rates that you need. Doing it traditionally at the moment, I think will keep us a bit short.
And just let me add to what Darren was saying, that it's
You all were telling me back there that you're not ready to talk. What happened?
So also it's also about what kind of hotels you are building and which segments you are targeting, and this is an important sector. So you are building all in 5 stars, you are building 4 stars, 3 stars, and this is where the segmentation plays an important role in terms of which category of tourists, of customers that you need to attract, because sometimes you feel on the 5-star you have some oversupply in certain areas or certain in these kinds of hotels, but on the 3-star, on the 4-star, which are more budget hotels or the other types of hotels that you need in order to keep the supply with the demand. So also the segregation between supply and demand is very important in order to categorize these hotels and where you need to focus, and also for the investors. So where the investors should focus in order to build the right hotel that is aligned with the demand that is coming to the kingdom.
So again, we mentioned, I think, the pacing, we mentioned the programs, we mentioned the communities that we are trying to build, whether big or small, it helps a lot. We need to mention as well the events that the kingdom and the Raya are working on to push this demand to work well with the supply. I can mention a few things that are already happening, Formula E, and then soon enough Formula 1, next door to us in Qadiyah. I can mention the Biennale that has happened a few times. I can mention a lot of things. And at the same time, we need to also remember what is being built. So when you are building an opera house, when you are building an arena, when you are building all these, we call them the iconics in our development, they are going to ensure that there's a lot of even internal tourism that will happen in a country as big as Saudi to support this, to support the construction of all these hotels, to support also, I mean, that's why we are building hotels in different segments. We are not looking at only 6 stars, 7 stars hotels. We are looking at all the segments. We are looking at all types of hotels, or the star ratings that we usually know and develop.
Absolutely, and even on my panel yesterday, we had CEO of Den Company, which is doing something completely different, right? These are very specialized, tiny little B&Bs in the farmhouses of 5-10 rooms, and they are pulling in the local population in order to give them, first, to increase the livelihoods in some of the poorer communities, and second, to educate them about how to run a business, and then, seeing where it goes. So that helps build the local wealth as well, which is, I think it's an amazing, they're almost behaving like an incubator / angel investor / asset manager. But I want to actually talk about something that, Terence, you mentioned. You started talking about big events. This was one of the last questions, but, we can jump forward, that's fine. It seems like, to the outside, I don't live in Saudi, all of you do, that the country is banking on constantly hosting one big event after the other. What if we run out of these big events to host? What happens?
Sorry, can I answer that one? Again, that's another interesting
I see you were jumping up at the moment I started
at the bit to to talk. I mean, the fascinating thing about Saudi, compared to the other countries in the region, is its size and its heritage. And for the exciting thing for me is that each development, and we talk about Diriyah, it's urban, it's retail, hospitality, heritage, but places like Alula has got some ancient place settings there. You go to the Red Sea, you go to Qiddiya, you've got different themes. So I don't see events, I see more of development being sustained by, destination, exactly. Destination and character.
And I believe the diversification that we are talking about between the different, targeting different kind of tourists or inhabitants. So as they said, Red Sea, Diriyah, Laula, they are totally different ecosystem, different destination. And this is, I think, where the kingdom has been able to diversify and to give something new, something different. And this will appear when these projects will come alive. So it will be a good diversification for all the tourists coming to the kingdom.
I think there's no way the big events are going to stop happening. There's no way artists are not going to do concerts. So we will have this segment for sure all the time. I don't think Saudi can host the World Cup twice in a row, definitely, and probably that's what you mean, but there's always going to be something big happening that will help. But what I like about what you mentioned is that Saudi in itself is a big destination. And today in the office, if we are chatting with each other, National Day is coming in this weekend. Everybody's asking you, where are you going? A lot of people will tell you, go to Al-Ula, go to Baha, go to Jeddah, go to the Red Sea. They don't tell you go to Cappadocia, they tell you go to Al-Ula, for example. And this is interesting. This reflex is very interesting. When you start talking about, go to Diriyah, have you been to Diriyah? If you speak to your friends in Jeddah and you tell them, have you been to Diriyah? They are intrigued, they want to come and visit. And that's the beauty of a country like Saudi. We cannot say self-sufficient, but it's beautifully interesting. And there's so many aspects of this country and so many natures and so many climates even, that it makes it interesting by itself. And this is going to drive a lot of interest internally and even on the GCC level, for sure.
And is this a recent phenomenon? It's always been like that?
I think with the vision, things have changed a lot. So you have different goals, very clear objectives for every sector in the kingdom, and things are happening. They happen very fast, very quickly. And whomever was living in Saudi Arabia, I think before, like for the last 10 years, has seen the change, the tremendous change that happened to the kingdom, and all the effects and all the marketing that happened worldwide, and where the kingdom is now versus where it has been in the past.
It makes me smile. When I worked in Neom about 4 years ago, and I arrived at London Heathrow and said I was flying to Tabuk, and nobody knew where it was. They all had to get their Wi-Fi, their maps out to see where Tabuk was. And the reason why I'm smiling now is because you can see Saudi opening up, and it's on everyone's destination. I've got 4 kids, and they all want to visit Saudi. And that's great for the economy, great for hospitality, and just great for the region generally, I think.
And you know what, that brings me very, very smoothly to my question also I was going to ask at the end, but we can talk about it now. So between the big events, between the internal kind of promotion and encouraging people to travel domestically before going to Dubai or Istanbul or some other place, all of that seems to tie into the brand identity of the country as a destination. And I think, I'm not saying it's missing, it's starting to form, right? But frankly, if you ask me, I can name probably half of dozen things that Saudi is, but I cannot put my, I could not put my finger on, kind of one statement. You know, like Turkey has got a clear brand identity, India has got a brand identity. I think Saudi is going to get there eventually, and I think it's working towards it. And I think that's going to really help to explain to the rest of the world what it is, because right now, yes, everybody is interested. It's like AI. Everybody's interested, but 98% of people don't understand what the hell that is, right? Or to me, Bitcoin is the same thing, honestly. So do you think how this will evolve and how it will help with the investment and with all of the activity that's going on in terms of building hotels, building destinations?
For me, I think the big thing about the region in Saudi in particular is the safe environment. You know, travelers, I think, want to be safe when they travel, and the world is becoming there's more turmoil. I think what Saudi gives people is a very safe haven to come to and enjoy the hospitality offering that's here. The problem is we can think forward 5 years, but we don't know what the future's like. We don't know how tastes will change, how technology will change. But I think what's certain is Saudi is on the forefront of that and will pick up the opportunities probably quicker than most nations.
We're getting a bit visionary here, but you know, why not?
Oh, that's good.
It's the end of the last day of the event, so.
You know, I don't know if we should, like, if there should be one identification for Saudi. I can give you at least, and that's maybe why it's rich as well. The richness comes from the fact that Saudi is really like a big place, and it's really diverse in its climate and its offerings. But going back to Riyadh, going back to Diriyah, for example, in our case, the brand is very strong. The identity, because it links to our heritage as a country, the heritage of Saudi, it is the founding place of this great nation. Diriyah is where it all started. And that's why Diriyah has a special offering. And if you couple that with the fact that the Diriyah company is a mixed-use master developer, and that we have already paved the way into developing Diriyah, whether it's D1, D2, or Wadi Safar, automatically, not only visitors and hotel guests, foreign investors are going to join us and start working with us on developing their own, let's say, projects in Diriyah. And automatically the interest is going to happen. So I think one of the main drivers is that the country is paving the way by showing that we are open for business, that by showing that we have interesting offerings for guests, for visitors, for the internal tourism, for the investors, and definitely the wheel is going to turn, definitely, and it's going to happen. There's no way it's not going to happen.
Now that you were talking, I got the tagline in my head. It formed unexpected richness, hospitable safety. Okay.
Broken screen.
Broken screen.
I think you blew him away there.
And one thing that I want to add to this, the Saudi people are hospitable people. Very hospitable people. I'm going to add very, because since I lived here, now it's been 7 months. I've been coming to Saudi since 2006. The more you visit, the more you interact with the Saudi people, the more you know how hospitable they are, how friendly they are, how proud they are of who they are and what they want to be. And that's beautiful. And I just mentioned this recently. The beauty of Saudi is that we are working with the Saudis, not for the Saudis. The difference between...
In the UAE, it's different.
Yes. In Qatar, it's been different. In Kuwait, somehow it's been different. Here, you are working with the Saudis. They are running in front of you. They are not catching up with you. They are running in front of you. They want to develop. They want to push forward. They want to move forward. And that's the beauty of working here. And that's why I believe it is going to happen.
Amazing. Thoughts on branding?
No, just let me add to what Nadia said, and you can see it also in the public sector, how the public sector has moved along and has been in front of the private sector. So the public sector is leading now with all the entities, with all the PIF companies, with all all the kinds of diversity you have. So the change was amazing, and it was based on a great culture. That is, you are trying to show the culture in a different way, in a diversity with a different modernization that's happening in the worldwide, and this combination between the existing Saudi culture and also the diversity in the landscape, in the new projects that are coming, and the new ideas that are evolving on regular basis, I think this is where the kingdom will be heading, and we will have something amazing in the future.
Yeah, and absolutely. Going back to the governmental entities running ahead of the public sector, we had a very good discussion about this on the SME panel yesterday. It really and truly seems like it, because the amount of initiatives that are being put in place. So I had to ask the gentleman that I had on my panel, does private sector even know about this? That these are amazing initiatives. Are they utilized? Because, it seems like almost, too much in a sense. But it's wonderful, because I don't really know of another place which is so forthcoming and so I guess forthcoming and, what's the word I'm looking for? Proactive, that's the word. Proactive with trying to drag people in, bring locals into doing things for the industry, in the industry, whilst at the same time getting the better of the outside world, as you said, working with the best experts from the international markets. Can we, Terence, you touched on this briefly. Let's talk sustainability a little bit. So as far as I know, the number is about $130 billion, which is earmarked for hospitality-related projects in the nearest few years. That's a huge amount of money. Close to 70% of the room stock that is being developed in the kingdom is in the luxury sector. So luxury hotels are typically synonymous to sustainability. Do you think it's a buzzword, or is it important for keeping the longevity of the projects and future-proofing the projects to work and to build in a sustainable way, in a planet-friendly way?
No, I don't think it's a buzzword at all. I think there's a massive commitment to sustainability, to zero carbon, to longevity of product here in Saudi. I know of two organisations that have come to the UK attracted by that very notion. There's a special pile called, and I'm going to get a bit techie here, but there's a special pile called a hyper pile that's developed in London that's going to be used in NEOM, and that will use 50% less concrete than the normal pile. And what that means is you've got 50% less material, 50% less energy, 50% less transportation. And then the other one is a company called Tide Construction, who build the world's tallest prefabrication units. They've arrived here. They're talking about a joint venture with a big name in Saudi, and they will bring lean construction. They will bring fast assembly, less energy, more safety. So yeah, I think companies worldwide are recognizing that Saudi does have a big sustainability agenda, and I think they're coming to partake in that. I really do.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think sustainability that's a lot of effort that are being done in order to move the developer in terms of building something sustainable. But also, sustainability is a long road, so it takes time. And also from an investment point of view, you need to be able to convince also the investor or the developer that also there's a cost-benefit analysis there. There's a humanitarian side to it, not just only profit margin or the profit that you are looking for. So it's a long-term process. You need to invest, so it will be good for the population and for the country itself.
Yeah, and that's why I mentioned future-proofing the buildings, right? Because whatever you build right now, if you build it in a classic, quote-unquote way, you're going to have to rebuild in 10, 12 years. We have a very harsh climate here in the region, right? If you utilize the latest technologies and materials like some of the ones that, Terence, you mentioned, you may get 25, 30, if not more years out of this building. So I met someone in the audience yesterday who invented a startup, but well-funded startup. They invented a small device that plugs into your HVAC system and saves you 25% on the energy. I mean, that's like a huge chunk of P&L of any given hotel, air conditioning the space, right? And we love to build big and grand here, so we have a lot of lobbies that we have to cool. So, yeah, sorry.
If I just make the point, and Naji will know this, that hotels in particular are very difficult pieces of assets to build, and you have to. Some of the pipelines are 5, 6, 7, maybe 8 years into the future, and then you have to sort of predict now what your asset's going to look like in 8 years' time, but also during the process of design and construction, have the flexibility to change as the market changes. But that feeds back into sustainability, is that if you have that ability to do that, you're going to have an asset that's going to have longevity in the market.
Not only that, I think Saudi has been lucky to start here. So we are not starting when sustainability was a buzzword. We are starting when sustainability is the real world, is the real thing that's happening. And for example, in Diriyah, of course, we are looking at technological sustainable solutions and measures, but we are also, because it's Diriyah, because it's linked to the heritage, because it's linked to Najdi architecture, by the simple fact that we are building according to a Najdi approach to architecture, an architecture that has been grown from this country, from this climate, you are already thinking sustainable. We have a mud brick factory that is actually used to build a lot of our buildings, whether hotels, residential, or any other asset that we are building in Diriyah. One more thing that I realized when I started working on our projects is that, for example, the Wadi is a sacred place. You cannot touch the Wadi. By itself, this is sustainable. This is being sustainable. And I've always thought about it because we developed hotels all around this region. The best way to be sustainable is not to build anything. Zero, right? You don't need to couple it with anything else. Or you don't need to equalize it somewhere else. What we are doing when we are respecting the Wadi, when we are respecting the crest line of the escarpments that are on Wadi Hanifa from our side in Diriyah, we are saying to everyone that no, we are not building just because we want to build, because we are on an ego trip and we want to build the highest, the biggest, we want to build while respecting the region we are in, the neighborhood we are in, the history we have, the beautiful nature that we have. I'm sure everybody knows, but it's quite nice to mention. Riyadh is 700 meters above sea level. Riyadh is surrounded by a beautiful wadi. And this, by respecting this, already you are being sustainable. Of course, also by using all the sustainability measures that we mentioned, being LEED certified, following Mustadam certifications is something for us that is happening no matter what. And our consultants know it, they follow it, and they respect it.
Very good. I think maybe one last question, and I have to pick a choice of one out of two because we don't have enough time. But I think it came up in one of your answers. So Riyadh obviously is on a path of growth and development on its own. And there is a Riyadh City Development Plan and whole commission, et cetera, et cetera. How do you see that affecting the hospitality sector in the city? Because quite frankly, to me, again, as an outsider who comes here frequently on business, the main challenge, yes, okay, not enough hotel rooms at reasonable prices, but much bigger challenge is infrastructure, right? How will the future development affect, vice versa? How will the city plan affect the future of the hospitality in the city? I know it hasn't been made public yet. It's only now going out to tender to the master planners and etc. But what are some of the key issues to solve here in order to future-proof the city for what's to come?
Okay. I mean, obviously the traffic.
You have to be politically correct,
I do. Obviously the traffic. I think we all can complain about the traffic. I mean, I can see corridors being created. As you look down the axis of, say, King Fahd Road, or as you look down the axis of maybe the Northern Ring Road, you can see that sort of spreading out towards the airport development. So I can see the city spreading out along lines rather than going around in rings. Those of you familiar with London will know the City of London, you know Canary Wharf. You know, the plan, it will in time, those two areas will connect with business and high-rise, and I think the same will happen in Riyadh as well. Again, coming back to the point of, as you build these dense communities, you have to get the infrastructure right. So I can only see that happening around the outer part of Riyadh rather than the inner side, because the inner side is so well developed and so established now.
No, I want to start with this. Istanbul is has very bad traffic, and it's a developed city, and it's quite developed actually, and it's there. They are not building Istanbul today. It's built, and the traffic is horrible. I think we need to balance between our expectation and the patience we should have when we are looking at a development as big as what we are facing and what we are witnessing today in Saudi. What I mean by this is that we will always have ups and downs as we move forward, as we build, as we develop. In our case, for example, I know that we are solving a lot of these, let's say, challenges by building the metro line. Again, I mentioned in the beginning that Diriyah is a city, is more or less a city by itself. It's 14 square kilometers. So we are looking at all these aspects. When you look at the Diriyah master plan, you have metro lines, you have public transport, you have a network of roads, internal roads, external roads, you have a very beautiful boulevard that's happening. All this is going to help ease the traffic at least, and we are, of course, we are working with super good consultants to make the traffic impact studies well thought of. But at the same time, I think as we move forward, as we build this thing, we need to be patient as well. So you need to look at the good changes. Like yesterday, one of our friends came to town, and he's like, it's amazing. In 30 minutes, I was in my hotel from the airplane. And this is a big change. We used to, the infrastructure has changed in the airports in Riyadh. The way they are developing the roads, the ring roads maybe as well. Of course there's traffic, like any other big city. We should expect that. But I think moving forward, the development of these different nucleus as well is gonna, let's say, suck a little bit of that traffic, create a bigger environment that would help ease all these pain points, let's say, that we are facing today.
But I mean, you're right about Istanbul, or think of a city like London, right? If you don't have a chance to change the fabric of the city, then you manage the traffic and the infrastructure in other ways. Plus, I think very important, something that you said, you need to decentralize a little bit. If you cannot, untie some of the bottlenecks in the center where everybody always wants to be, you create different areas, right? You create living quarters, you create business area, you create, recreation, etc.
This is important. As you said, decentralization is very important in order just to have different nodes of attraction and not to have only one attraction in the city. But definitely, whenever you have a city that is built, changes needs time, and this is the difference. Whenever, for example, if you have a project that's coming from start, for example, Red Sea, Al-Ula or something, it's easy to build it the right way from the beginning, to have urban planning, to have the right structure for it. But when you have a city with 8 million people that are living, working, going, and the development and the pace of the development that is really quick, so it's very important to face these challenges. And you'll be working along on a daily basis to solve them.
Okay, gentlemen, we're coming up to the end of the panel, and because I don't like boring panels, as some of you already know, I have a rapid-fire question for you, which we have not discussed in our prep call. And you're going to have to answer the first thing that comes to your mind, but it has to be entertaining. The question is, okay, you have to tell me in which order you will go.
The consultant.
Consultants. Okay.
As long as you don't ask
He's
me
the
to
most
sing.
creative.
Can I help you?
All right. So, if you had to name a new hotel development in Saudi after a famous movie or a book, what would it be and why? Bonus points if your answer contains something regionally related, like Lawrence of Arabia Hotel in the desert or Great Gatsby Hotel in the middle of Riyadh. Go.
Having worked there, I can't help but draw the parallels between Neom and Blade Runner. So if there's Blade Runner,
Okay.
the futuristic film, I can't remember the name of the director, but Neom, and it will have a hotel. Once it has a hotel, the line, I mean, that will be the place to go to, it really will. So for me, Neom and the Blade Runner.
Nice.
The first thing that comes to my mind, something, a hotel related to, I don't know, maybe Batman or some seats, sceneries or something that is related to this. Why not?
Nice. Okay.
You are the last one.
I think. Okay, I'm gonna answer differently, maybe just to get to the title of the hotel. I think what I like about working for the Raya and working in the Raya is that it's really like the founding place, and it's like having the chance to build something where it all started is beautiful, and working in a place that has already a lot of history, a lot of heritage, a lot of identity. Probably it's going to be Identity Hotel.
Do you have a name of a movie or a book that you would name it after?
I don't know if Lawrence of Arabia is, no, I want to name it,
Too cheesy, right?
yeah, I don't know, I want to name it Dir'iyah Hotel. Probably it's the best name.
Could we call it Naji of Diriyah?
So, and that's another thing, just to make it less boring for the audience. My name is Naji, and I'm working in the Raya, and we are building Najdi architecture, Najdi-influenced architecture. In all the calls, I have to be all the time attention, because my name is mentioned maybe 300 times in every call, in every meeting, and I keep repeating Naji, Najdi. So, thank you.
Very nice.
Now it's your turn. I think you should give us...
My turn?
Yes,
Okay. I've already given a couple of examples, but I'm really good at putting people on the spot, but apparently not very good being there myself. I think this was just a trick to give me time to think. I think with the new Riyadh urban city master plan, I'm pretty sure it will be very futuristic. So I would do a matrix hotel in the middle of that master plan.
Interesting.
With very sleek future design rooms that fully adapt to each guest's preferences as the guest enters, because they're reading his thoughts.
Judging by your watch strap and your gown, I'm not sure whether you'd be red pill or blue pill, but I'm sure we'll find it.
Thank you. All right, thank you, gentlemen. You've been an amazing panel. Please give my
Thank you very much.
my panelists a round of applause. We have 3 minutes. Maybe audience has questions. We are happy to answer within our allowed time. What is it? Business card. Yes, after we finish, absolutely. Yes, please.
Hi, good evening. My name is Hari. I live in Dubai. Mr. Naji told the 40% of total payment which is coming up. And Zweller told the 400 are coming. Same time we read in the news media the 250,000 keys coming in Makkah, Medina. So part of this 400 or it's separate?
So if I understood your question correctly, because I don't know if the microphone is not working or something is wrong with my ears, you're asking if it's true that 250,000 keys are coming in Mecca and Medina?
250,000 keys are coming. That's what we heard.
You
Is it
are
part of
talking
this
about
400?
Mecca or Medina?
Together?
Together. I think I don't have the exact numbers. I cannot tell you if this is true, or I know there's a lot of supply coming, or it's planned to come. But definitely, as we said in the panel, when you have the supply, you need to have the segregation, how the phasing will be there, because when you have big projects and big master plan, you have always phasing, so it won't come at once. It will be structured for like 10 years, 15 years, and this is where you need to take into consideration the relationship between supply and demand and how they interact together. But for Mecca and Medina and the pilgrims, as I said, I think demand will be there. It's a matter of how much the infrastructure can handle both cities, because it's tough to handle all these pilgrims at the same time, in the same manner, doing the same rituals all the time.
So the number I know, at least to partially answer your question, is that I think Masar project in Mecca is about 40,000.
Yeah, it's around 45,000 keys.
Another one, which is Takar, which is the two largest, probably is another 40,000. So that's 80 between only two large master developments in Mecca.
You have also Ru'a al-Haram that is coming, which is Ru'a Mecca that is coming also. So there's a lot of big projects coming, but big master plans, as I said.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions in the audience? Otherwise, we're going to wrap up. All right, thanks everyone. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.